Space is always at a premium on boats. We are constantly fighting the creep of accumulating more stuff, but whenever we do a purge, one category automatically remains in our keep pile, our reference books. Today, I'd like to go over the books we think are important enough to have kept on board for 7 years and help you begin to build your cruiser's library. There will be links down in the description below for each book that we talk about. So welcome. I'm David from Out Chasing Stars, and I'd like to invite you to sit back, relax, and let's talk boats. Modern boats are an extremely complex mix of complex systems. To be fully independent, your boat has to wear many different hats. Starry Horizons can act as a power plant to generate electricity through our solar panels, our generator, alternators, and our hydro generator. She's a water plant thanks to our 30-gallon-per-hour water maker. She provides transportation through our sails, navigation gear, and yes, occasionally our engines. Not to mention that she has to function as our home. As part of that, she has to provide a reliable source of electricity through our battery bank and inverter. We have a galley to cook and store food. And there's always my favorite, waste management. During the life of your boat, I guarantee you that you'll have to maintain, repair, or improve all of these systems. And that's where this first book comes in. This book is The Boat Owner's Mechanical and Electrical Manual by Nigel Calder. This book is literally the how to fix anything reference book you have to have on your boat. All those systems I mentioned that we have on Starry Horizons, Calder covers them, and so much more. We have the 3rd edition, but since we've been out cruising, a 4th edition has been published, and that one has more updates on electrical systems and includes topics like lithium batteries. If you're going to get one book that I talk about today, this is the one. It's inevitable that you're going to have to work on your boat, and having Calder's book to help explain those systems and troubleshoot will be so worth it. Now, if there are a couple areas the boat owner's mechanical and electrical manual is a bit light on, I'd say that it's really detailed information on diesel engines and the repair and maintenance of the boat itself. So that's where this book comes in. This is the Sailboat Maintenance Manual by Don Casey. It focuses more on your boat itself, starting with guiding you through what you should look at to evaluate the condition of your boat, or even if one you're looking at to purchase. If there are repairs that need to be made to the hull or deck, Casey walks you through those steps, and even touches on the refinishing work you can do to make your boat sparkle again. There's a section on canvas work and sail repair, so you can even tackle those projects as well. Casey does cover boat electrics, but as I said, I think the Calder book is a better reference for those systems, but the Sailboat Maintenance Manual does include 162 pages on maintaining and troubleshooting marine diesel engines. As much as we may all like to dream we'll never have to need our engines, the truth is that things can quickly become, that's what I'm trying to say, terrifying if your engine dies on you at the wrong time. You'll want to know how to troubleshoot it. So these two books have been incredibly helpful during our time living aboard our boat, and between the two of them, there aren't many things about the repair and maintenance of a boat that aren't covered. We've used them both a lot. Now that we've talked about the books that will help you maintain your boat, let's talk about the books that will help you actually get to those exotic destinations you want to go see. Proper passage planning is absolutely essential and can make a huge difference in your enjoyment of the cruising life. To make sure you do it right, get this book, World Cruising Routes by Jimmy Cornell. It is the Bible of route planning. It provides details of over 1,000 cruising routes across the globe and includes like 6,000 waypoints to help guide you along the way. We pulled this book out all the time as we did our long-term planning, as it really helped us figure out what time of year would be best to do which passages. For example, let me open this up here. The Panama to Marquesas is always a popular route to get to the gorgeous South Pacific. Flip to this page right here. and you'll find the best time to go is February to June. You'd have to worry about tropical storms, maybe December to March, but the charts, the pilots, the cruising guides for the entire region are listed, as well as waypoints and rough distances. So even if you're looking to do a bit more off the beaten path sailing, like to the high latitudes of the Arctic and Antarctic, World Cruising Routes, it's got you covered. If you're going to be making long distance offshore passages, this is a book you should have. Now, the other one that you should also have is also by Jimmy Cornell. This is his Ocean Atlas, which has taken decades of satellite observations to create pilot charts. Now, it's a little big, but that term may not be familiar to everyone, but a pilot chart essentially shows averages in prevailing winds, currents, pressures, etc. at different times of the year, all throughout the world. Now, the first pilot charts were created by the US Navy in the 19th century and were based off of ships' logbooks. Not exactly the most accurate or reliable of sources. Now, of course, there have been updates over time, but the fact that Cornell uses satellite observations as the basis for his charts is where the book really shines. You're getting up-to-date information on the weather patterns you're actually likely to encounter out at sea. Now, it's definitely worth noting that you still need to check the actual forecasts for any passage you're about to go on, but having the Ocean Atlas book will show you what the conditions should generally be like. And a general idea is incredibly worth it because a weather forecast beyond 3 days can feel like it's mostly guesswork anyways. But if you have these two books on board, you can feel confident knowing that you're undertaking a passage at the proper time of year and have some comfort in generally knowing what kind of conditions you'll face. For those of you who are still in the planning your cruising adventure phase and not quite ready for planning passages yet, we've still got a book suggestion for you too. This is The Voyager's Handbook by Beth Leonard, and it covers pretty much all aspects of the blue water cruising life. She and her husband have sailed over 90,000 nautical miles, so she knows what she's talking about. We got this book when we were still dreaming of sailing around the world, and it's so good that we still have it. The book is broken up into 5 different parts. The first covers the essential ingredients of blue water cruising, like crew, financing, and what kind of boat is appropriate for your plans. Part 2 deals with what systems and components the boat should have. Part 3 is all about the liveaboard skills you'll need to successfully cruise. Part 4 covers short-handed passage making, and that was honestly our first insight into what a passage life would be like. And part 5 is all about how to handle clearing in and cruising in foreign countries. So, like I said, it is a great look at all things cruising. The first edition was published in 1998 and the second edition came out in 2006. So some of the information is a bit dated by now, but still, this book is highly recommended for anyone dreaming about the cruising life. Real quickly, let's touch on cruising guides. Once you've planned your adventure and planned your passage, then you have to plan what you're going to do in these amazing places you're going to go visit. These days, there is a ton of information available online. Noonsite is an incredible resource that you should definitely be checking out. But for the most detailed information about anchorages, snorkeling, services, hazards, etc., a local cruising guide is still well worth it. Now, the quality of the cruising guide will depend a bit on how frequently traveled the area is. The Bahamas and the Caribbean, you can find incredibly detailed guides. Less common cruising grounds like the Indian Ocean, you can still find some, but there generally won't be as much detail. Still, we always appreciated any insights we could get into the places we were cruising. Now, rather than talk about each guide we have on our boat, since we can't seem to bring ourselves to get rid of them just yet, I'll do my best to link to them down in the description below. This next recommendation is one that I strongly suggest all boats keep a copy of, but Americans may be surprised to learn it's required to keep on your boat if it's over 12 meters or about 39.5 feet, and that's the navigation rules. We actually had to study this when we took the exams for our 100-ton master's licenses in the US, but it's quite shocking how many boaters we've encountered that don't seem to know even the basic rules of the road, so to speak. I honestly don't know if there's an equivalent handbook for other countries, and this one does talk about specific rules for inland water US navigation, but it also includes the international rules, so it could be helpful for anyone. Now, either way, please get a copy and take some time to actually go through it. Everyone will be all the better for it. A big concern of ours before we set sail was how we would handle a medical emergency at sea. Out in the middle of the ocean, it's not like you can just pull up to the doctor's office, and if you're in bad conditions, it may be more dangerous trying to get someone off the boat anyways. We ended up finding an offshore emergency medicine course through the Wilderness Medical Associates that was incredibly helpful. They walked us through some practical training and advice on how to improvise for emergencies at sea. I do highly recommend something similar for anyone looking to sail offshore, and for those of you who are interested, I'll leave a link to their website in the description below. As part of that course, we bought this book, The Wilderness and Rescue Medicine. Nothing can replace, actual training, but this book has still been a great reference for us when we've been trying to work our way through the various medical issues we've had while out cruising. And having read it meant that we had some basis to start from, rather than just panicking. Now, just a warning though, it does include some pretty graphic pictures, but a medical emergency at sea isn't exactly going to be pretty. Now, that's been a pretty deep dive into the serious reference books we keep on the boat, but we have a few fun reference books as well. I'm going to go through these a bit quicker, but let's start with our language books. We've got French for cruisers and Spanish for cruisers. Now, this may be hard for a lot of native English speakers to hear, but not everyone in the world speaks English, and it can actually be offensive to assume that someone can. Now, trying to speak to someone in their native language is going to be a good way to be a respectful visitor to their country. If they can speak English, they may laugh and take pity on you, but it's still good to try. And Google Translate has come a long ways, but if you want to try and learn things from basic conversation to proper boating language in a foreign language, these books are going to be your best bet. Now, which book you get will greatly depend on where you plan on cruising. In general, I'd say for most of the world, the French for Cruisers book would probably be the most helpful, unless you plan on cruising the Western Caribbean, Central America area. This next recommendation may cause a few of you to laugh, but we do have the Cruiser's Handbook of Fishing. And if you're looking for a great reference on how to fish off your boat, this is it. And to be fair to the authors, we have done fairly well using their advice to hook fish. We just seem to have a lot of user error in landing the fish. For those times we do actually manage to get one up on the boat, we have the Gulf of Mexico Sport Fishing Guide to help us identify what we caught. We originally got that book in Houston, so hence Gulf of Mexico, but pelagic fish are generally the same throughout the world, and the graphics have been extremely helpful. If you're going to be doing a lot of snorkeling, which you definitely should, having a guide to help identify the fish and creatures you find can be a lot of fun, especially if you've got kids. We have got both of these, the Reef Creature Identification and Reef Fish Identification books. These were for the tropical Pacific, but again, there were some overlaps with other parts of the world, and there are more region-specific guides available if you're interested as well. Knowing how to cook the fish you catch or local food you find but may not be familiar with can always be a bit of a challenge. Amy suggested 2 books which can help. The first is the Boat Galley Cookbook. Created by cruisers for cruisers, there are a ton of recipes using basic ingredients that you know, as well as instructions and ideas on how to manage the things you don't. Also, our favorite recipe for homemade bread is in this book, and there is nothing that improves crew morale better than a warm slice of fresh bread right out of the oven, slathered in jam. Be sure to check out the whole wheat bread recipe on page 392. Also, special shout out to the banana bread recipe, which is also delicious. And now my mouth is watering. So, moving on. The other cookbook that we use all the time is Miss Vicky's Big Book of Pressure Cooker Recipes. Now, we've really loved having a pressure cooker on the boat. It's incredibly versatile, and if I can manage to use it, then I know anyone can. There's one thing that I haven't covered yet, and that's the good old plain just for fun books. And for that, you should definitely have a Kindle. The ability to have literally thousands of books at our disposal without the equivalent space and weight required for hard copies is a pretty amazing perk of modern technology, and it lets you save space for all those reference books. Amy and I both enjoy reading, but she in particular is a voracious reader. Over the years, she's come up with numerous ways to find free books to read, and her blog post about it is one of our most popular. There should be a link popping up here if you want to go and check it out and read all the details. The general advice we would give is sign up for membership at your local library. It sounds a bit strange to contemplate, but libraries these days are partnering with digital services that allow you to check out ebooks for free. Some libraries even have partnerships that allow you to download digital versions of magazines, including Cruising World. It's going to be a lot harder to get that membership once you're on the boat, so definitely take care of that beforehand. I think we've pretty well covered a solid start for any cruising library. I know we've covered a lot, but we've actually used each and every one of these books regularly over the last 7 years, and they're good enough that we still have them. If you're interested in learning more about any of the books I've talked about, there are links down in the description below. We're going to be making lots more of these videos, trying to share the things we found useful and the knowledge we've gained while living on our boat. So, if you want to follow along, make sure to click over here to subscribe. Our next video will come out 2 weeks from now, but if you want to watch more in the meantime, click down here. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you another day in another bay. Bye, y'all.